Hello, everybody. This is Edgar Winter. Let's rock.
It sounds like the Lone Star Blues. I never felt so all alone. Go, 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 Johnny, go, 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 Johnny, go, go.
Hello.
Hello.
Here we are.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're in
Hold
it.
I am indeed. Welcome to Winterland.
Guys, looking good.
Well, thanks. This is where I did all everything on the Brother Johnny album. I recorded right here.
Not a bad deal.
Well, all the vocals, I should say.
Okay.
Not everything, but did all the vocals at home.
Awesome.
Well, so let's rock.
Let's do it. That's right. Welcome to Let's Rock.
Thank you. Great
Thanks
to be
for being
here.
This is quite an honor.
Are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm always ready to rock and roll. How about you?
Excellent. Yeah, you know it. Absolutely.
Nice. Hey, congratulations on the new album, Brother Johnny, by the way. It is fantastic. It's a great tribute to your brother.
Well, thank you so much. I just had a blast doing it. And I thought it might be highly emotional and difficult, but it playing all of those songs brought back so many memories, and it turned out to be a great source of strength and comfort. It was very cathartic, therapeutic, and I feel in a way closer to Johnny in a way that I had never really expected after having made it. So it really was something I needed to do. Absolutely.
You know, it's funny. I was going to save this question for later, but now that you've mentioned that, this one is perfect right now. What did you learn about your brother that you may not have known before from doing all this stuff?
I don't know that I learned things that I never experienced, any really deep insights. But the funny thing about it is that Johnny may have departed this physical realm, but I talk to him every day, and his presence, his music will live on in my heart. And that's all I wanted to do with this album, was to just as a thank you. And I would like to thank, this may not deal directly with your questions, but I want to thank the major people that were involved, beginning with my beautiful wife, Monique, to whom I've been married now happily and blissfully for 43 years.
Good
Not
Lord.
bad for rock and rollers.
No kidding, right?
In California, no less.
No.
But shortly after Johnny's death, I was sort of deluged with requests and deal offers. And that's exactly what they felt like to me, deal offers, in that it was, record labels, business people sensing an opportunity, and it felt to me like exploitation of Johnny's name, using it for commercial purposes. And it just it wasn't something that I wanted to do. Plus, I was just devastated, and I was not emotionally ready or prepared to make an album like this. It took me some years of reflection. I spent years not making this record, and when I talked to my wife Monique about it, when finally we got an offer that seemed real, and I'll go into how that happened, but she was just so definite, and I trust Monique's intuition sometimes more than my analytical thinking. But she just said, well, you always speak about how Johnny's your all-time musical hero, and that you wouldn't be where you are were it not for him. So here's your opportunity, to acknowledge that. I think you owe it to yourself, to Johnny, and to the world to make this record. And she was so right in every respect. And I'm just so glad that that I did make it. The second person I want to thank is the person who started out as the engineer and mixer, Ross Hogarth, and ended up really being a co-creator, producing, and he was just invaluable, and it would not be the record it is without Ross. And he turned me on to so many people that I was not familiar with. People like Phil X from Bon Jovi. Of course, he had worked with Keb Mo on the Taj Mo album with Taj Mahal and Keb Mo. So Keb Mo probably wouldn't be there if it weren't for Ross. He suggested Doyle Bramhall, who I knew of as playing with Eric Clapton, Eric's second guitar player, but I had no idea that he was such a great acoustic, authentic slide player. And the track that he did on the album, the Robert Johnson song, "You Got a Good Friend," was just great. And Johnny always had one of those authentic Delta acoustic guitar songs on every album with no bass drums. It was just him, an acoustic guitar, and I think that that Doyle really captured that. He also suggested John McPhee to do slide guitar on Highway 61. List goes on, but thanks to Ross. And finally, the president of Quarto Valley Records, Bruce Quarto. I wouldn't have made the album if it weren't for Bruce. He wanted to make it for all the right reasons. He loves Johnny's music. And he said, "I don't care. You can take as long as you want, do whatever you want. I may have opinions from time to time, but this is your record." And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's really Johnny's record. I'm another guest. I'm another guest on it, and probably the primary one. But when I finally decided to make it, the first question in my mind was, should I just make a straight ahead blues record in tribute to Johnny's legacy, or should it be more of a personal dedication from me to my brother based on a lot of my own particular personal favorites? And I decided it should be a balance of both. And that's what I tried to do. But I don't think Johnny would have liked it if I just made a straight ahead blues record. He would have said, "Well, how come all of a sudden you're just trying to sound exactly like me?" He always encouraged, I love jazz and classical and country as well as blues and rock. And Johnny always encouraged me to follow my heart and play the music that meant something to me. So I know it's not the record Johnny would have made, but I think it is the record he would have wanted me to make for him. So that's pretty much it.
Wow, that's a pretty good summary. Did any of the guests? Oh, by the way, we should list some of the people who are on this album. It's like a who of rock and blues, right? Joe Bonamassa, Billy Gibbons, Warren Haynes. Oh my God, I love Warren Haynes. Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah. Well,
Steve Lukather, Michael McDonald, Keb Mo, some dude named Ringo Starr, Derek.
Who is that guy?
Taylor Hawkins too performed on.
Yes, Taylor. And I'd never met Taylor, but yes, they're the people that are on here are the people who wanted to be on. And I just sort of put the word out, and I got lots of calls back. And as I said, Ross suggested a lot of people. I didn't always get the people that I wanted, but like there are just some incredible performances. And you mentioned Warren. He did. I think of all of the people, I'll just say a few words about a few of the people. I think Joe Bonamassa really channeled Johnny the most. I think he got deeper into Johnny's playing than anyone other than myself. And Johnny and I grew up playing together, and learned to play together. We had almost a kind of a telepathic musical communication. I knew what Johnny would play almost before he played it, and we used to do all the trade-off stuff, like we all, we both knew one another's licks and stuff. But Joe, when I didn't pick artists for particular songs, the first thing I did was decide what songs I wanted to do. And then when it came to the artists, when somebody said yes, and I'd read them a song list. And with Joe, when I got to Self-Destructive Blues, he's, wow, you're really going to do Self-Destructive? I love that. That's my first Johnny song I ever learned and played with my band. And I just can't believe you're going to do that. And he came in with a Firebird and an old Bassman amp, the exact same gear Johnny would have used, and just blew me away. It's so incredible. I closed my eyes and I swear, Johnny's presence is here in the room. And the thing, I think, I used to think of Johnny as the Coltrane of blues rock, because he had an ability to extend himself as a soloist, and the same kind of thing, like an unending an unending stream of consciousness, of pure invention, that that he could continue to build and play course after course. And you don't really see that much. There's not that much jamming around these days. And I tried to make this album the way the albums back in the 70s, when there were groups like Cream that were, they were playing. And there were times when I thought maybe I'm making too much of a musician's album, that there are a lot of extended solos, but that's what Johnny did. It wouldn't be honest, it wouldn't be a true album without that. And Joe had that same ability. He had obviously listened to Johnny, and then after doing Self-Destructive, he came in and did Meantown Blues, and just did an incredible job with the slide, because I didn't know who I was going to get to do that. And I wanted that song. I didn't want to make a sound-alike album. That was the last thing. I didn't want all just the usual suspect. I wanted an interesting array of characters, which I think you mentioned that guy Ringo.
That Ringo guy
that you probably wouldn't expect, or Taylor for that matter. But when Warren came in, and the same thing with Warren, when I got to Memory Pain, you can stop right there. That's the song I wanted. That's my favorite Johnny song, hands down. And what he did that just so impressed me, he walked up to the mic, he plugged in his guitar, and he did the song start to finish, singing and playing at the same time. And you have no idea how rare that is. Most of the time people come into a session and they say, okay, well, let me lay down a rhythm part, and then we'll focus on the solo, and then I'll go out and sing the vocal. Warren he played the song. He played it exactly the way Johnny would have played it with the blues trio. And just that authenticity, just the fact that he did that just blew me away. You can feel, like when you hear that track, you can tell that he's singing and playing at the same time, because he's kind of playing off of what he's singing and singing off of what he's playing. Did a great, an incredible job. There's so many. I don't usually listen to my own albums, but this has so many cool guest performances on it. It's almost not like my album. I can listen to this one, and I get so much out of it every time I do. It's really kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful album to listen to. And by the way, as a Canadian, I'm glad you did get Phil X on there. You got to have some Canadian content, right?
Yeah. Oh, Phil is a madman on the guitar. I just, when I when Ross suggested him, and he's always Bon Jovi, and I think like, oh, Bon Jovi is kind of tame pop, you know. Man, Phil is the total opposite of what I would expect, you know, of somebody playing. You know, not that I mean, I love Bon Jovi. I think they're a great band, and but Phil was, he's just like so totally unrestrained, very he's a wild man, very unpredictable, and I love that. I love that. I love to see people do that. Ronnie Montrose was kind of that way too, and I really like that. So yeah, we got some Canadian blood in there.
Yeah, you do. You know, the track that hit me the most was Lone Star Blues. Obviously a very emotional tribute to your brother. But before I even talk about how that came about, a big high five to Kev Mo on that one for some beautiful
Ooh,
guitar work.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did that song come about?
Well, this is something that goes back to our childhood, and it's one of the main ways in which Johnny and I were totally different. I never had any particular desire to be famous. I loved music in and of itself. We started out playing when we were kids. Like my mother says we went on this show called the Uncle Willie Show. It was like a kids' hour, like when I was 4 years old. I remember going on there when I was 6. But Johnny started, like our dad played guitar and banjo, and played alto sax in a swing band in his youth. He sang in the choir. He had a barbershop quartet that would come over to the house and sing. And my mother played beautiful classical piano. Everybody in our family played something. My grandfather played great country fiddle, and great grandfather played trumpet. And I just it was a household kind of activity. I thought everybody played, and it was a rude awakening when we started trying to put together bands with our friends around the neighborhood. What, your daddy didn't show you no chords or nothing? You know, I thought everybody, you know, was just such an integral part of what our, you know, what's going on with our family. But the thing is Johnny had that dream. He had that determination, that drive, the ambition. He, ever since I can remember, he was going to be famous. And he was Johnny Cool Daddy Winter with the pompadour and the shades and the guitar and the girls. And I was like the quiet kid that played all the instruments. But the irony of this is that having worked his whole life to achieve that goal, and then finally arriving at that place he had dreamed of being all his life, and seemingly having everything that you could ask for: fame, fortune, money, adoring fans. It was not what he expected. And I remember him saying, you know, I never thought it would be like this. I just don't know. I feel so isolated and alone, and I don't know who to talk to and who to trust. And it's everybody has this preconceived idea of who I am. It's like there's an image of me that has come to represent who I am, and nobody really understands, or nobody knows who I am. And this is an impossible thing to explain, because the fame is just so shiny and attractive and glittering. Like you would think, well, who could not be just overjoyed and so thankful and filled with gratitude for having all of that. But it was like one of those be careful what you wish for scenarios. And Johnny was able to resolve that after his rock era with Johnny Winter, and which was probably the height of his popularity. He rededicated himself to the blues, and his first love was always for the blues, but he was also encouraged to go in a more rock direction, certainly by management and record people, thinking that that would gain him wider audience, which it did. But and he himself was pulled in that direction because, as I said, he wanted to be famous. But he overcame all of that, and he resolved all of those issues in his mind. And I know he was very thankful and appreciative. He loved his fans, and I've seen him invite people into his trailer and sign autographs for people. He, he really came to appreciate everything that he had been through. But he did go through that rough period, and I went through something similar myself. But the difference is I never had that expectation that he did. He just thought he in his mind, he felt like once I achieved that, I'm going to be completely fulfilled, and everything is just going to be magical and beautiful. And it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't what he expected. So I tried to put those feelings, I tried to write that song in Johnny's voice, Lone Star Blues. And I thought, of a star feeling alone, Lone Star Blues, and we're from Texas. It's the
Lone Star
perfect,
State.
the
Yeah.
perfect, yeah, the perfect title. And I just felt like it was something that should be said, and something that a lot of people would not necessarily be aware of. And you mentioned Kebmo, and I like, to me, Kebmo, he did exactly what I hoped. For that song, I said, well, it has to be a really authentic blues player. And I knew that Ross, obviously had worked closely with Kebmo, and he set up a get acquainted phone call, and I explained to Kebmo the concept behind the album and the song in particular. And he's, well, let me hear it, and send it on. And he broke the whole song down, started from scratch, played all the instruments. And the thing is when it gets to those choruses, the fact that he turned it into a duet, he said, it sounds like the Lone Star Blues, it just like introduces this note of compassion, of empathy. It's like the old blues guy, it's like there's this young guy going through these difficulties, and it's like he's saying, yeah, things can get tough, but it's going to be all right. And that, like, is just it's so heartfelt, and it really transforms the song into something beautiful. Whereas if it had just been the negativity of Johnny's experience, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same song. So my thanks to Kebmo for really making that something that I never expected, and it's one of my favorites as well.
Oh yeah, he nailed that one.